Welcome back to The Edge. Advertisers shift spend to Meta as TikTok faces possible U.S. ban again. Gemini helps Google crack down on fake reviews and map spam. AI and SEO news here with Sara Taher. You're listening to AI News from The Edge here on Edge of the Web Radio.
From the Edge of the Web studios, here's what we're looking at this week.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and wherever you are, this is Edge of the Web Radio. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks, owner of Site Strategics here at a digital marketing firm here in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're covering SEO and digital marketing news of the week, separate from our interview series that we run every week as well, making sure that we get more and more news to you as quickly as possible. And on top of that, we've specialized our news into different areas of information, like SEO, like social media, like search engine marketing and the like, and along with that, AI and SEO, because there's a key combination that we're all interested in. So check out all the information over at edgeofthewebradio.com. That's edgeofthewebradio.com. This is the Site Strategics digital marketing news desk of Edge of the Web. We're proud to have them as the title sponsor of this episode of the news. We're one of the top SEO firms here in the Midwest, and we're very proud of what we do here, not only for our clients, but also what we do on the show, because we are consummate learners, always having our ear to the rail, making sure that we know what's happening in the digital marketing space. That's why we do this show and have been doing it for 13 years. So check out sitestrategics.com, see what we can do for you. Happy to have a free hour consultation to be able to walk through some digital marketing tactics. Joining me this week to get her take on the news is Sara Taher, organic search consultant, speaker, and author. Sara, how are you doing today?
All good. I'm very excited about this. Yeah, it's always fantastic. Fun to talk with you about SEO and AI.
I appreciate that. And obviously, we love to talk about AI specifically. You've got a wealth of information that you dive into. It's great to be able to have you back. So that said, we have a number of articles to plow through, a couple of different topical news items, and then we're going to dive straight into AI and SEO. First thing on the docket here is from Search Engine Land, from Anu Adegbola. We've got advertisers that are pulling back from TikTok, the boosting media amid this ban uncertainty. TikTok advertising confidence continues to erode. New data shows double-digit CPM declines, double-digit, and significant budget shifts over to Meta as an alternative. Now, we certainly understand that TikTok has gone through a lot of political upheaval with the U.S. banning TikTok and then President Trump actually removing that ban and temporarily lifting that ban for 90 days. By the numbers, TikTok U.S. cost per thousand impressions, CPMs, have dropped sharply, posting double-digit declines. 8 of TikTok's 10 advertiser categories cut spending in Q1 of 2025 compared to Q1 of 2024. User activity has dipped in January during a temporary service blackout, like we're talking about, further rattling the confidence of the app. The big picture is, despite that turbulence, TikTok is still expected to rake in $14.8 billion in U.S. ad revenue dollars this year, according to eMarketer. That puts it behind Facebook's $36 billion. I'm sorry, I said million. That should be billion. They're at $14 billion. Facebook's at $36 billion, but ahead of YouTube's $9.9 billion. But that prognostication still is expecting that TikTok's not going to be banned after that 90-day temporary shift there, or temporary lift there. So, of course, advertisers are going to be moving away. No one's acting like TikTok is gone, but no one's pretending that it's business as usual either, says Raul Rios, the head of strategy at independent creative agency Sailor. So, got to let you know that everything's kind of shifting away from TikTok, or at least a sizable portion of advertising, because everything's up in the air nowadays politically. And I mean, with the stocks that we've actually been seeing changing with the tariffs and what have you, not to go into that space, but everything's very, very tumultuous, and you got to make sure that as you're advertising, you're also going where the users are, because one of the points in the article is a dramatic shift of user activity inside of TikTok during that outage, and they haven't returned. So, any thoughts about that matter with TikTok?
I'm just surprised that YouTube is coming way behind. Like,
yeah,
it's massive. Even though they have shorts, it's, I don't know, embarrassing for Google.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 9.9 compared to 36 billion on Facebook advertising. But again, it doesn't compare to the huge ad engine, which is Google. But yeah, I agree with you. I'm actually kind of surprised
YouTube
about that.
YouTube as a platform is the second largest search engine if we exclude images. So it's search, and then, so I don't know. It's underwhelming. Is that the right
it
word?
is. It really is. It really is. We did a report here recently about a bid for Perplexity actually buying out TikTok and being able to open source TikTok's algorithm, because at the core of the gem at the core of TikTok is their algorithm. And you've got Perplexity out there, but also Amazon just put a bid, although it's not being considered as an interest. It's not being considered as a true interest there. So there's a number of large platforms that are looking at this during this temporary lift of the ban here. So that said, revenue is going down, but there's still a viable interest in moving this platform into a US-based company-owned platform here. So pay attention to that, because it is someplace it will actually go. TikTok's not going to go away. What do you think, Jake?
I don't think it's going to go away, but I mean, I think one of the biggest problems with it is with all this back and forth, the volatility of, will they, won't they?
Yeah.
A lot of creators on there are encouraging people. They don't want to lose their audience. So they're encouraging people, hey, go follow me on whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. They're encouraging people to jump ship and follow me somewhere else, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever. And they're encouraging people to go follow them somewhere else. And then maybe they come back to TikTok, or maybe they're splitting, their time between multiple places now. So every time this happens, the big TikTok creators are essentially pulling users away from TikTok, and they might be putting more of their time into some of these other platforms.
Yeah.
So every time this ban comes around, even if it's, at the 11th hour and they're like, okay, we'll extend it again.
Sure.
They're losing users. And then I'm also seeing in comments on, random videos like, oh, wow, I haven't seen you in a long time. The algorithm's really messed up. And part of that's probably just this,
participation.
Yeah, well, just because people are changing, people are leaving, whatever. But like, sometimes people are like, oh, I'm glad to finally see you again. You're one of my favorite creators, and I haven't seen you in a long time since the ban. It's been whatever. So if the algorithm's messed up and people aren't using it as much from whenever it was last banned and then unbanned and banned and unbanned again, it's going to cause problems. And then because of that, advertisers will just be like, yeah, this isn't working like it used to.
Yeah,
I'm going to go somewhere else.
Away. Yeah.
So even if it sticks around, this whole thing has messed up.
Yeah, it really has.
People's livelihoods. It's
at the same time, legitimately, the ban was because of the remote ownership of China actually mining data of U.S. citizens.
Yeah,
and we also...
none of these other companies have ever taken any of our data. Ever. Never.
Yes, of course.
No one has ever... Facebook has never taken your data.
Remember this Facebook Analytica scandal thing? Yeah, right?
Yep, absolutely. All right.
That never happened.
I'll put that just right over here. Moving over to another article with Barry Schwartz over at Search Engine Land. Google credits Gemini for better detection of fake business reviews and maps spam. Google took down over 240 million policy-violating reviews from 2024. That's 40% more than the previous year. I actually remember reporting on this last year, actually, as they were continually improving their analysis of fake reviews. Barry writes, Google's crediting its AI advancements, such as Gemini, to be able to help detect and remove fake reviews and listings within Google Maps. AI has been a pivotal tool in helping us stop scammers in their tracks, and now we're using it to using it to scale our protections, Google wrote, and there's a link on the article to actually see that particular message. The metrics that Google showed over its battle with Google Maps, Google blocked or removed more than 240 million policy violating from 2024. Google added that the vast majority of which were removed before they were even seen, which is interesting. Google blocked or removed more than 70 million policy violating edits to places on Google Maps. Google also removed or blocked more than 12 million fake business profiles. Wow, that's a lot. And on top of that, they placed posting restrictions on more than 900,000 accounts that repeatedly violated their policies. So it's great to be able to see AI at work. I would challenge this just talking to local business specialists like Mike Blumenthal, like Greg Sterling. They have a good deal of insight into how difficult it is on the review front to be able to actually get certain reviews removed, as well as how difficult it is to actually get Google to pay attention to something from a user standpoint. So there's an overt use of AI in the Google Business Profile ecosystem. Yeah, they're removing spam, removing reviews, but I guarantee that there's a conversation on legitimate reviews that also got removed that weren't spam that's not being reported here. So that said, I mean, we're talking about AI today. Thoughts on this particular report? Sarah?
I think the spam did not necessarily increase year over year. It's Google's getting better. And this is better, what, yeah,
absolutely.
Like, we need to hand it to Google. It's getting better and better every year and every month even in handling spam, handling unhelpful content. Can I give a random example that happened?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Okay, so I was on ChatGPT, like seeing how my course appears there. And then it referenced websites that are selling pirated versions of my course. I was very upset. I went to Google. You cannot find those websites. They're not there already. Google handled this. I went to Bing because obviously ChatGPT pulls from Bing, and they're there, well and alive, right? So right. Google is very, very good in handling this. And that's going to give it an edge in even its AI technology, in Gemini responses and AI overviews. Something that's ChatGPT and other LLMs have not built systems to, tackle yet. And I don't think it's on their priority list yet as well.
Okay. No, it's great to be able to see this at work and the governance that Google's doing, because reviews are certainly important. But on top of that, spam sites. Sorry to hear about a site that's actually using your course information. We heard the same.
People are not buying my course anymore. What happened? Like, I'm adding lessons. It should be more.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we heard the same thing from Olga Czar about a year and a half ago, whenever her entire course got plagiarized and actually posted on Amazon as a book to download, and they didn't even adjust the content to be able to remove her out of the actual documentation. It was terrible. So certainly a heart goes out whenever plagiarism is happening here. But it does sound like Google's continuing the anti-spam policy. The biggest challenge, back to my original point, is that they also have to be listening to the Google Business Profile account holders, as well as subject matter experts, to be able to help navigate and challenge a incorrect removal. Because we also saw a slew of reviews getting removed from Google Business Profiles about 2 to 3 months ago. There was a bug in the system, they said, but I'm assuming that this is also part and parcel of what we're describing here with this technology. They have to be listening. They have to have human responses more and more to be able to have that counterbalance. You just can't manage everything from an AI environment, especially when things are getting wrong. So that said, certainly want to call attention to that and make sure that everybody is also looking at their own reviews. Google's doing a good job here, but you also have to be inventorying your reviews. And if there's something missing, right, you should act upon that as well. All right. So that said, I want to pivot around to our title sponsor, discuss that just a little bit. Site Strategics, our parent company, is a sponsor of this show. Here's a question. How do you create content, authoritative subject matter expertise that we know Google's looking for and the AI engines are looking for? Learning from your client is always the best place to start. But organizing a well thought through interview process is very time consuming. So that's what we have actually done over here at Site Strategics. We've got 13 plus years of interview skills and methodology that we actually bring to bear as like an SEO SWAT team that we can actually help you and your client be able to discover some fantastic information, going through an interview process, we go through buyer's journey concepts, as well as using SEO strategy to be able to understand gaps in the ecosystem and dive in with your experts to be able to find those nuggets of gold and be able to surface them, run transcriptions, and be able to curate that into a lot of different areas for digital marketing. So if you're interested, go over to sitestrategics.com, chat with us, or give us a contact. We'll be happy to talk to you about what we do over here at our shop. Remember, it's not you, it's SME. All right, pivot around. Another article that we want to jump into, and this is the beginning of our AI overview. Well, that's a slip of the tongue. It's an AI SEO overview. How about that? First on the docket here, over at Axios, there's a New York case against OpenAI and Microsoft, and the judge said that it can actually advance. So, and this actually written by Sarah Fisher over at Axios. The U.S. District Court judge last week denied most of OpenAI's motion to dismiss a lawsuit against it and its minority owner, Microsoft, from the New York Times. All right, so here's the deal, is that two tech firms have never been challenged by the Times claims of direct copyright infringement, which allege that they copied the Times works to be able to train their large language model. In fact, you recall that the Times was one of the first large platforms, publisher platforms, to be able to blocking LLMs, especially Chat GPT, from scooping up their content, or at least they push that into robots.txt. But we also know that that's a guideline, not a rule, right? The judge's decision last week was to deny several of those motions to dismiss the Times. Other claims give the outlet more ways to be able to win. So you got to check out this lawsuit. The New York Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft for copyright infringement in late 2023, becoming the first major news publisher to be able to sue AI firms to protect its intellectual property. And I want to make sure that you hear those phrases because it's going to be iconic for content discussions and legal discussions in the future of intellectual property. That is the substance of this entire thing. So that said, Sarah, what are your thoughts about this precedent-setting event?
I'm super happy that this is proceeding. I feel to a lawsuit. Like I'm happy that the judge did not block this. I feel tech companies do not care. They say they care, but they don't actually care about creators or publishers. You just want to do whatever is good for them. And so it's good to see some pushback there. I hope like something happens. I hope we get some ruling there, and that would maybe even inspire changing the laws, because we've all seen the Ghibli studio trend recently and how it converted like something that was art and you enjoy it into something that's just, as we discussed before this call, saturated, right? So yeah, I definitely think this is a good move. This is the right path.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dovetailing into that article, another article from the legal side of things that is from CNBC.com. Check this out. Chegg sues Google for hurting traffic with AI as it considers different strategic alternatives. This was published from CNBC, Jordan Novitt and Jennifer Elias. Chegg on Monday filed suit in federal district court against Google, claiming that AI summaries of search results have hurt the online education company's traffic and revenue. Chegg has engaged Goldman Sachs to be able to consider strategic options, including acquisitions and going private. Chegg says Chegg depends on referrals from Google's monopoly search engine, quote unquote, for a large portion of the revenue that it devotes to producing original online content, the company said in its filing. So that said, they filed on Monday. It's another legal proceeding, and it's another area of not only copyright infringement, because it is in the same vein of scooping up content, being able to display it on AI, overviews, answering questions, answering queries to the user, and ultimately, they're not giving citations, I should say, but at the same time, if the question is answered at the SERP level, there's invariably a loss of traffic because the answer's right there. So this is another precedent-setting event here. Chegg is worth less than $200 million, and in after-hours trading on Monday, the stock was trading just above $1 per share. Chegg reported a $6.1 million net loss on $143 million in the fourth quarter of revenue, a 24% decline year over year, according to the statement that they actually produced. And they're attributing that to AI overviews and the loss of organic search. So there is a bit of an irony here, however, before anything else, Sara, is that they're also exploring, as they're accusing Google of scraping content, they're also exploring similar practices of creating their own AI engine as well. So if you can't win there, you might as well just join them, right? So anyway, thoughts about this particular article, Sara?
I think this should be a wake-up call for Google. This is what we have all been saying in the community. They're killing publishers and creators. They keep saying we're sending more traffic. We care about creators, but we all also saw what happened in the Creators Summit, nothing. Yep. So that should be a wake-up call. I've actually been trying to connect with John Mueller and run a city hall or town hall. What do we call it? Town hall?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
Town hall session to discuss this because everyone is concerned. Like, here's the thing. If they kill creators, maybe that's good for, they don't care in the short run, but on the long run, what is the motivation for people to create content for new things that AI have no idea about yet, right?
Yeah.
AI is based on data that we currently have, the knowledge we currently have. What about things that come in the future? So that's a bit problematic, right?
Absolutely. So those two legal precedent-setting, I'm going to say that 3 times just so I can get it in the notes, events, pay attention to those because they are landmark events here. Going to shift over to a bit more of a view of what AIO is doing. Glenn Gabe posted up on X. AIO's prevalence has now surpassed 20%. It has been creeping up over the last several months, but this is the first time I have seen, says he, ZipTie reporting higher than 20%. By checking the vertical, he sees e-commerce and real estate surging a bit. Just a heads up, he says, as AIOs continue to expand. And of course, he says, we have the AI mode out there turned now on, which could also replace IIOs at some point in time, in his opinion. Stay tuned. So some interesting graphs, interesting charts that he's actually focusing on of AIO over time. Yes, we're seeing a continued growth of that real estate there. And check out and certainly follow Glenn because he's continually reporting in this space as well as many others. So that said, what's your take, Sara, on the growth here of AIOs? It's a fad, right? Really?
Yeah, I mean, no one is asking for this. Like, if you go to Google Trends, no one wants this. So you have the users don't like it. SEO is like, Google is a marketplace connecting publishers and users, and I don't see anyone fighting for it. Like, no one like, hey, and then you hear things like this is the most popular or the best feature we ever had, or like, what is it? Where's this coming from? Like, where are these numbers there? Is it like something internally? Like they sit together at Google and say, oh, this is awesome. And then they report on this as being the most popular in the office, for example.
Right. No, you're right there. I mean, they have data that actually is certainly giving them feedback that consumers are interacting with this, right? Not that they're really possibly saying the full truthful data, but we also know that they just had a recent Google Summit where it wasn't Munich, was it Madrid, where literally they were continually to focus on AI overviews and telling us as SEOs what we should be doing. And one of those slides literally was the importance of structured data. And an article we left out because we did report on it a couple of weeks back was Microsoft letting everybody know that Copilot is train very well on good structured data on pages. So all of the search engines are really doubling down or tripling down, communicating to producers of content that structured data matters. And just want to throw that out to you, Sarah, because I know we talked about it online. It's very, very important factor that SEOs should be paying attention to regularly in this this AI environment that we're in, right?
Yeah. I feel schema should not be ignored. It's a controversial topic. I sense from when I'm posting about it, sometimes not I don't expect everyone to be on board, obviously, but it's controversial. It's not like a small disagreement. It's a bit like there's two extremes, right? There's no middle. Some people are like, no, it's useless, we shouldn't care. And then some people like myself, I feel, no, we shouldn't ignore it. There has to be some value. It's just hard to measure or hard to quantify sometimes. Just before this call, actually, I was meeting with a group of SEOs, and some of them actually discussed some benefits they saw to schema, like specifically the reviews schema. But again, if they mentioned they're using it, even for grounding, they may not necessarily be using it for training. It's still something we have some control over, right? So I wouldn't waste that, at least for now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Although Darth Autocrat posted on X some pretty punchy comments regarding what that presentation was in Madrid, and I'll put it in the show notes here. It was pretty raw there. But let's pivot around and thank our sponsor again for this show. We're proud to have InLinks as a sponsor of Edge of the Web. Hey, they have a new offering. Dixon Jones has actually spun up with his team a new platform. And speaking of AI, this is spot on, a valuable platform. WAIKAY. That's what AI knows about you. Are you keeping up with what AI knows about you or your company? Now you can actually stay ahead and be able to be on top of the facts with WAIKAY.io. And we'll have it in the show notes itself. This powerful tool helps you discover exactly how AI talks about your brand to key customers and gives you ways to be able to improve it. It can actually benchmark your AI presence against competitors, and it actually has 4 different major LLMs that actually polls against ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, as well as Gemini, and it gives you an understanding of how well AI knows you collectively, and as well as uniquely in these different spaces, and looks at your competitors as well. We've been test running it, and it's a wealth of information to see what AI knows about not only your brand and gaps in your brand as it applies to the services that you provide, but you can also focus on a specialized concept, and it will roll through sub-nodes or sub-points of the concept and see your competitor's strengths and dimensions that these AI platforms have compared to your own content. I actually ran us against our Edge of the Web against Search Engine Journal and Search Engine Land, and lo and behold, the gaps that we had are specific to, well, we don't report about trends. We don't report about this or that. And it was very insightful that it was a strong reflection on the differences between these two domains. So you got to look at it, and these tools are needed in this AI space that we're in. So kudos to the guys over at InLinks at building out this platform. If you want to go check it out, go over to edgeofthewebradio.com, WAIKAY, because that's how they know that you saw them here on the Edge or listen to them on the Edge. We'll have that in the show notes as well. Go check that out, and we're working with them on a particular promo piece for you guys in the future. So check out that platform. This is one of the newest tools that I can actually recommend that give you an echolocation in the AI space.
I want to second this. I met with Jeannie recently, and we had a demo. I've seen a lot of AI tracking tools and that sort of thing, and they're all good, but I really feel this is different, and the way it presents the data, it's very actionable, actually, right? Like, it's not just, this is what, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, definitely check it out. And I'm genuinely saying this, like, I feel it's a really good tool.
It is, and I'll double down on that. It actually creates an action plan for you. It isolates the content gaps, critical gaps in your content of your site, as it compares to two different competitors. It gives you an entire timeline as well of what you should do right now and then. So they've really thought through not only the analysis, but also the action plan. So kudos to those guys for actually creating this. Again, it's one of the first tools that I've seen that really can be strategically used. So we're actually already a member in this space. Got some credits to be able to test it out, but man, this thing is a fantastic tool to be able to use. All right, pivot around over to Ahrefs from Louise Linhan and Zabelia Guan. Check this out. This is from February 6th. Very applicable to what we're talking about right here. 63% of websites are receiving AI traffic. There's a new study that they actually covered 3,000 websites, and they have their analytics tool that can actually give really good source attribution to that. So they studied traffic of 3,000 sites to be able to better understand and make up the traffic patterns of AI traffic, including how much of it is being sent, the most common referral sources, and how that differs depending on the size of the site. They analyze the traffic differences between sites driving greater than 10,000 visitors, and then between 1,000 and 10,000, and then below 1,000 across 7 different AI chatbots: ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, Gemini, Perplexity, Jasper, and Mistral. So here's some top stats, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the analysis. 63% of the sites receive AI traffic overall. Okay? That's huge to be able to see this breakdown, the stratum across these different areas. 98% of AI traffic is being sent by 3 chatbots. ChatGPT is the biggest referrer, accounting for 50% of that AI traffic. And here's the key takeaway. It only represents, on average, 0.17% of the traffic to a particular website. So all that being said, AI is showing up as referral traffic across their 3,000 sites that they analyze, but it's only representing less than 1% of overall traffic, according to the web analytics tool. Tossing it back to you, Sarah. What are some of your thoughts about this report?
A lot of things. First of all, I feel this is a good indication that we shouldn't be scared of LLMs. I know that traffic isn't big, but they're also, like, the size of their usage compared to Google is very, very small, right? Like, Google is gigantic. So from Google, we know that more than 96% of pages on the internet don't get any traffic at all, right? I know this is a small sample we have here in the study, and it says, more than half get traffic from referral from LLMs. And I think there's more opportunity for websites to get traffic from LLMs versus Google. It's just that people are still, like, Google still controls the majority of the search market, right? But as this demand, that the use of LLMs grow, this may be like a candle in the darkness. This is going to save publishers.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the things that is ChatGPT is, for now, it does not rely on ads. So it's not about keeping the user on the platform. It's actually maybe more expensive for them to have the user continuously on the platform. Maybe they're okay with sending users somewhere else. So because that's not their model for now, they don't mind sending referral traffic, right?
Yeah, but arguably, I'll take a counter position here. If it's only sending to those segmented groups of 3,000 sites that they studied, less than 1%, part of the argument is that users are kept there because of the very small citation notes. AI overviews on Google SERP. There has been a continual battle of representing sites with legitimate anchor text, at least the URL, to be able to demonstrate where that information came from. And they tucked it away and then put it back. And there's a lot of real estate that's being adjusted there. So the traffic itself is specifically derivatable from how they represent that site in their UX, right? So you could have it bold and right in front and have a full URL, and I guarantee there's going to be more traffic coming from an LLM as opposed to tucking it away on a citation note that is subscript and barely visible. Just saying is that the UX real estate has a lot to do on traffic.
Yes, but here's the thing is, the user on Google with AI overviews, are they more who's more likely to click on the link? And I feel when I'm on ChatGPT, I want to click on the link to double check the information. That's
absolutely. Yeah. I'll give you that. Yeah. I would give you that. Absolutely. And that goes into the trust and the experience hallucinations that consumers have had using these models. All right, so it's a great report. We're going to have that over on the show link as well. Last article that I want to jump into here is over at Search Engine Land. Check this out. YouTube citations in Google AI overviews surged 25%. This is from Danny Goodwin. He's going to be on the show here soon. February 12th, he posted Google AI overviews more often cite YouTube for instructional content, visual demonstrations, verification, examples, and current events. What he's saying here is, even though Google's lawyer says that less than 1% of YouTube video views come from search, Google continues to give preference to videos from its YouTube platform, especially for visual demonstrations, step-by-step tutorials, product comparisons. If you want to be visible in AI overviews, you may want to align your YouTube and SEO strategy so your videos are cited AI overviews. So there's a piece of real estate there that Google's actually focusing on, and that's a bit of that self-preferencing discussion that we actually had last week with a gentleman from Near Media. If it's looking at its own YouTube assets as instructional videos, and tying it back to the revenue model that we were talking about earlier for YouTube coming in dead last between the different players at 9.9 million. Yeah, they're going to start pushing traffic back over to YouTube because they got to get those ad revenue dollars up. All right. That's my point here. Thoughts about YouTube citations there, and Sarah.
The ads thing. They're trying to keep users on their platforms, in their ecosystem.
Absolutely.
There was they also tested linking in AI overviews to themselves again, not even to the websites. It's a mess.
Oh yeah, it really is.
And these things they say is why people don't trust Google. It's a monopoly. It's clearly a monopoly. They're trying to get out of this. They're trying to they don't want to give any part of the market away.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy that these numbers, we as SEOs can show that these numbers just aren't adding up. This is going to hurt. I think it already hurt. These things hurt already their credibility. We always take everything they say with like a big bag of salt. I wouldn't say a pinch of salt. No, pinch of salt. No, not enough. But
not enough.
I mean, not enough. Yeah. There's not enough salt in one household too.
No, I would agree with you. And any platform is going to be self-preferencing, but there are spaces in which the consumer is not being served well by not experiencing the destination websites of which content's being lifted from. And I'm going to stand in that position until the day I die when it comes down to the value of destination websites as opposed to the curation in a platform that obviously is monetized for its benefit. So that said, any final words on the AI ecosystem that we're experiencing right now?
It's just something I mentioned earlier. I feel because LLMs are relying on a subscription model, they are more likely to send referrals. So maybe that's the future. Maybe we shouldn't worry. I mean, uncertainty brings worry, like you don't know what's coming next, but
sure.
But it's not dead. SEO is not dead.
No, it's just changing. And the old technical side of things has to move into brand. It has to move into a lot more, as Mike King says, relevance engineering as opposed to anything else. So with that,
every time you say something wrong, like in English, I'm happy. Like it makes me feel happy.
Well, I'm going to edit all that out as well. All right. So with all that, thank you so much, Sarah, for chiming in on the AI SEO side of the equation on here at Edge of the Web. Certainly wish you the best. And we do want to make sure that our listeners check out our interview series. I think we're going to be having on this week, we're going to be talking to Celeste Gonzalez as we talk about heat map analysis on websites as well. That's a underserved area there, and she has some really good insight and information along the way there. So thank you so much for your participation, Sarah. We wish you all the best. And with all that, let's wrap up. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get updated as we post hot takes from our show. From all of us over at The Edge, stay safe, stay well, and do not be a piece of cyber driftwood. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There we go.